You're listening to The Village Thrives, a podcast about parenting and community. If you like this episode, be sure to hit like and subscribe. Go on then, you know you want to. Let me take a sip of my tea. Has everyone got their tea and water and coffee, whatever they need?
Yeah.
I fully intended on it, and then oh, you're double fisting it.
Okay. She said tea and water. Yes,
Yeah.
I came prepared.
I do have my tea. I have my water too. Hello and welcome back to The Village Thrives. I'm Donna, and as usual, I'm joined by Bradley and Christina. But as you'll see, if you're watching us, we have a special guest. There's a fourth person in the room, or on virtual,
Yay.
should I say. Hello. Today we are thrilled to welcome Sarah Kearney, or Kearney. We'll get into that in a minute. She is the executive director of Blue Zones Project Scottsdale. Now, before Blue Zones, she spent 16 plus years at Experience Scottsdale, where she led partner development, membership strategy, and community programs that strengthened the city's tourism and civic ecosystem. She has a deep background in community well-being, engagement, and cross-sector leadership.
She seems like someone with some cross-sectional leadership. She just has
Right,
that vibe.
right. So I think it's safe to say that Sarah knows a thing or two about building a village. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Sarah,
me.
let's just
It's a
clear some
pleasure.
things up right away. Is it Sarah Kearney,
Here we go.
Sarah Kearney, Sarah Kearney, or is it just Sarah? Like, just like Cher.
So by marriage, it is Sarah Kearney, is what I am told. But again, if somebody gets it close to right, that's okay by me. You can call me anything as long as it's nice.
Yeah, I think what's great about Donna, you should just own this because you already have a British accent. So, like, if
Yeah.
you messed up somebody's name,
No
it
one's
just
gonna
would be- you would
question
just-
whatever you
no
say
one
with your
is-
accent.
Yes, exactly. They're like, oh,
No
that's
one's
just
gonna
how
question
you
it.
say it in England town.
Yeah.
It's Sarah Kearney.
There you go.
Sounds good. Still sounds
Great.
good.
I'll say Sarah Kearney because my husband's from Dublin, and when he met Sarah, he said, "Oh, good Irish name, Kearney." So that's
It's
apparently how
stuck.
it's pronounced. If you're listening from Ireland, we've
Yes.
got you, Ireland. Kearney, all the Kearneys. So Sarah, how's your day going? What's going on in your world? What have you been up to?
It is wonderful. When you get to be part of an organization that's so much bigger than yourself and you get to give back to community day in and day out, every day is a good day around here.
So Bradley, Christina, are you familiar with Blue Zones at all?
Yeah, one of the shows that we all met on, I think, right? The list we covered Blue Zones a little bit, enough to know that it's kind of a healthy area. There's specific places around the world that just seem to like break all the statistics for health, and there were studies done as to why that's the case. Christina, you may know more than me. That's basically my knowledge of it.
I mean, I hear that if you live in said blue zones, you're going to live to be 150 and your skin's going to look great. So sign me
You
up.
had me at skin. I'm there. Let's do this.
Exactly what you said, guys. I would add to that, it's a concentrated amount of people who live to 100 or over
Oh, okay.
and have a lifespan, healthy living. And, I think, Sarah, you could explain it, I think a bit more concise and tell us more about Blue Zones. What are Blue Zones for anyone who doesn't know, who's listening?
Absolutely. And you all are spot on. So blue zones are the world's longest lived places across the globe as identified by our founder, Dan Buettner, who is a New York Times bestselling author. He's a National Geographic fellow. He's been doing this research for over 20 years and identifying these places where people are just living longer, better, more vital lives. And in those original blue zones, so I guess could be a quiz, but Sardinia, Italy, Ikaria, Greece, Okinawa, Japan, the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica, and Loma Linda, California. It wasn't just lifestyle, but it was also environments that were shaping the ability for people to live happy, healthy lives. And so when you look at the rates of dementia, Alzheimer's, other chronic disease that we face so prevalently in the United States and Western civilization, you see a fraction of these numbers in the original Blue Zones. And that is what Blue Zones is all about. And there's a beautiful docuseries on Netflix. So if anybody hasn't seen or is unfamiliar with Blue Zones, 4-part docuseries. It's called Live to 100 Secrets of the Blue Zones. And you travel around the globe to those original Blue Zones where they interview the people and the community members and learn their lessons and secrets of living to 100.
I loved that show. It's a really good documentary series on health, wellness, and what people are doing to really thrive in their second half of life. One thing that really stood out to me, there's a place in Sardinia where they recognized that there were elderly people who were living at the top of a very steep hill. And they were like, what? They seem to be thriving. They're living longer. What is it? And so they put that down to the fact that every day they were going up and down this hill. So they were really staying active. And that's one of the Power 9, which we'll get into in a minute. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, go check it out for sure. It'll give you a really good insight. And it's really inspiring as well. I'm like, I want to be like that when I grow up. I want to walk up mountains and hills without a cane. They're walking like just, like it's nothing. I'm like, wow.
I know. Sometimes I think like the idea of living to be 100. And I mean, I'm 47 and all of the parts hurt already, right? Like my knees and my hips. I'm like, oh my gosh, by the time I'm 100, I'm going to be bedridden. But these people who are living to be 100 are like literally just living a beautiful and active life, probably the way we were intended.
So what is the secret? And I think that Dan and his team, when he went out and researched this 20 odd years ago, found that there were 9 specific similarities in each of these 5 zones, right, across the world. So Sarah, did you want to tell us what are the Power 9 and how they play into our lives and how we can incorporate them into our lives?
Absolutely. And the Power 9 are those lifestyle principles that collectively led to longer, better lives in each of the Blue Zones. And they might have looked and felt a little different, but they were really the 9 common denominators that were found across the board. We break them into 4 categories. One of them, which Donna, you kind of alluded to already, is around natural movement and movement. So this really isn't about pumping iron and running marathons and rigorous workouts, but rather the standing up and walking around throughout the day. We have a tendency to be sedentary in our days, sitting in front of computer screens all day long. And it's that nudge to get up and move around a little bit to keep that core strength strong. And one of my favorites that my family maybe has become a fan of as well is I like to call it Blue Zones parking, and we call it Blue Zones parking. And we actually park far away from the front door of wherever we're going. So then we're getting extra steps to get to the front door. And when you think about the amount of time you circle in a parking lot to get that closest spot, when the actuality you can just park a little further away and everybody's getting in a little extra movement going to the front door of wherever you're going, whether that be school or store or a restaurant. Just go park in that far away spot and you're getting some extra movement in for your day. So simple.
Oh gosh,
thing.
I get so much satisfaction when that first parking spot is
I
open. It's like
know,
deep
I know.
satisfaction for me. But
But you're
I
gonna get
do understand
even
what you're
more
saying.
benefit.
I don't know. I think if the first one opens, that's the universe.
Opportunity.
You gotta take that.
Fair.
Do another
Fair.
lap at the mall if people listening know what a mall is, but that's the way to go.
But we receive your point, Sarah. We totally get it.
I do love it. And I love that there's our show here is definitely about not shaming anyone, expressing that we're all doing the best we can, right? And so I love the takeaways. I love even calling it something like that. Gamification works for my kids in great ways. So saying like, hey, we're going to do a, Blue Zone parking challenge, see if we can get, 10 parking spots over the next week. That's a Blue Zone, whatever. And a great fun way to inform them as to what that is as well. Because my kids aren't going to sit down and watch a Netflix documentary. They're barely going to sit down and listen to me. So I think having that is such a great takeaway from the get-go. So good call on that. I like that.
Yeah, great. How to incorporate these principles into your family environment
You
with
got to
kids,
have
as you say.
buy-in. You
Yeah.
Oh,
can't just
yeah.
tell because they're going to be like, wait, we could park right there. That's dumb. We should be doing the easiest thing. Isn't that what life is? Like, try to get there quickest, be the first, like, let's
Right.
go. And so I think this will be like a nice, big kind of like holistic family movement, like philosophy as well, not just physically moving. So I didn't want to cut you off, but I think
Yeah,
what you're
no, you're
saying is
right.
really helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's also not hey, you have to do 2 hours at the gym, right? You're
Yeah,
not
not a huge
asking
lift.
people for that. Yeah, you're not asking people lift. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
well, it's just dad jokes here for days.
He's bringing them in early. He's
Oh,
coming in
sorry.
early and he's coming in strong.
Yeah. Okay, Sarah, sorry to
Okay.
cut you off, but I'm like so into it.
No,
Go
this
for
is
it. What's
great.
next?
Yeah. So again, so this kind of goes, right? We think diet and exercise. We hear that all the time from everywhere, diet and exercise. So when that movement piece complemented by the eating wisely piece, and there's 3 Power 9 principles that fall into this category, one of which is plant slant, then it's 80% rule, and then wine at 5, which can be swapped out with friends at 5. And we'll talk through that a little bit. But when we look at plant slant, that is not becoming vegan or vegetarian, but rather adding and incorporating more fruits and vegetables into our diets and putting on our plates. And so I really like Bradley's point about like the gamification aspect of like making it fun and having them included and our kids included and what kinds of fruits and veggies we're adding into our day to day. But things like adding some extra things to our favorite meals, whether it's tacos, pasta, pizza, let's try putting a vegetable on that and see if we like it. So making it like a taste test or trying new things. I mean, I know I have certainly tried to sneak a variety of vegetables into other items that they don't even know are there, whether that be beans that are in, it's like they don't know they're eating beans when they're eating hummus, and they don't know they're eating black beans when I've made brownies that have beans in them. So I know there's some of those ways that we can get and incorporate really nutritional, high nutrition value items into the foods that we're consuming regularly that we enjoy. So it's just it's kind of a experiment to see like, let me try it and see if they like it. And if they do, I could tell them, but maybe I don't even need to because why mess
Right.
up a good thing when you've got it?
No, that's important.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yes.
And then the 80% rule, this really is derived from a Confucius mantra out of Okinawa, which is eating until you're 80% full. And so when we think about that concept, right, I don't know about you all, but I grew up in a home where it was clean your plate, have seconds, and then maybe you get dessert. And so this is just a mindset shift where we're mindfully eating instead of mindlessly eating. And so even that concept of like taking a check and a pulse point of like, how full are you? Like on a 1 to 10, how full am I? Am I at an 8 or am I stuffed? And if I'm stuffed, then that may not actually be a good thing as it relates to even us as adults, like gaining weight, losing weight, maintaining weight. But even for our children, that if we're just eating until we're stuffed, we now, and again, depending what's on our plates too, also could be a game changer. So it's that eating until we're satisfied, using smaller plates. It's also that gentle reminder of let's make sure our distractions are put away. So I know when we have the opportunity to sit together down at the table for a family meal, which as a reference point, busy mom of 2 school-age kids too that are super active and have lots of extracurriculars. We normally get dinner at the dinner table together twice a week, and that's sacred space, I like to call it. And when we're there, there's no phones, there's no iPads, there's no devices, and we're sitting around and we're being grateful for the meal that we have together that I fortunately enjoy putting together and preparing for the family because I know exactly what's getting into our bodies. But we use that time to really connect as a family. And that does maybe feel a little traditional or old school in nature. But man, those dinners are some of my favorite nights of the week. And again, often overlooked because of the busyness of the world that we live in.
I think that's a great point. I think especially the distraction thing. People don't realize that you'll crush a bag of chips if you're watching a show. I mean, think about at the movie theater, you're like, that's that popcorn, like that's a barrel. And then at the end of Avengers, you're like, I just ate the whole barrel. There's nothing left. How did that happen? There's no way I could even try to do that. And yet
And that
you
bag
do.
of
So
M&Ms is gone too.
come on, you know it is.
Jeez.
It's
Oh my
getting
gosh.
sprinkled in with the popcorn. Mixa.
Yeah. Did they do that in the blue
Yeah.
zones? Probably not.
Just the blue M&Ms. You could do blue. That's fine.
See, that's just picking up, not eating the whole bag, but just the
Just
blue
the
ones.
blue. That's blue zones.
That's a
Isn't
good
that what
choice
that means?
right there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I remember, this is years ago now, the first time I had any concept of you don't need to be full was in New York, and I'd gone with a friend to, if I say fast food place, we could get burritos. And I remember we had a whole burrito each, and I finished mine, and I walked out, and I was like, I'm not full. And he looked at me and was like, yeah, you're not supposed to be full. And I'd never heard anything like that. I was like, what? What do you mean? But it
Yeah.
really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have to be full. I clearly had enough. You know the size of a burrito, right?
Oh,
It wasn't like
yeah.
I had a taco. It was like, it was a full-on burrito, the beans and the rice and everything. And I'm not full yet. What do I have now? And I realized,
Ice
once he
cream.
said that, I was like, do you know what I mean? I need to be full. It needs to be here and up to my
Yeah.
chin, or I can't put anything else in. And I was used to doing that. I was
Yeah.
literally used to that feeling. And I'm like, wow, I don't have to. And that was game changing. Just that one comment. It's amazing how someone can make one comment and
Yeah.
it can really shift your perception of things. But yeah, that 80% rule. And now to this day, I still will apply that fact that I don't have to be full.
So Sarah, so back to the food portion of it. So this is the category and then like subcategories?
Kind of, yeah. So we break it down into
Okay.
4 sort of categories, if you will.
Got
So
it.
it's movement, eating wisely, connection, and having the right outlook are the 4. And then we break down the 9 within those 4.
I see. Okay, got it. So where are we? I think we got lost at blue M&Ms.
Sorry, you're right,
Yeah.
Christina, just to go over what we've just discussed. Movement is a category. How many principles are in movement?
Just the one.
It's
Just the one.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Moving naturally is
move.
the one that falls
Okay.
in movement. Yep.
And now we're on the second category.
Eat wisely.
Eat wisely. We did plant slant and the 80% rule.
Mm-hmm. And the
Okay.
third one is wine at 5 / or friends at 5. And really there it's important, again, as adults, right? Wine at 5 in the original blue zones, probably 4 out of the 5 original blue zones, they were consuming a glass of red wine or another beverage. But it was about who they were consuming with and who was around that table and that they were sharing a meal together. Although, right, there's a wonderful Sardinian red wine that has a variety of benefits, but unless you're stomping grapes in Sardinia, making that wine in your own backyard, or finding a similar wine to that drink of choice could look and feel differently for everyone. Again, really intended in moderation. But I think one of the things I think as a parent, and I actually was talking with my kids this morning on the way to school about this, is I don't use wine or alcohol as a way for relaxation, right? Or to unwind at the end of the day. It's actually very rare that I'm in a setting where I am consuming alcohol with my children. I save that space for a glass of wine with a girlfriend when we're catching up, whereas we do other things when I'm with my family. So that's where, again, just that's for me personally. I think also modeling healthy ways to relax, I think is really important for us as a parent because, some great if it's that glass of wine or, a glass of whatever at the end of the evening that helps them relax. But if it is, something that is done in the presence of your family, they're seeing, oh, that's how my mommy or that's how my daddy relaxes at the end of the day. So yes, it could have its benefit, not necessarily encouraging to start drinking if that's not something you do in your daily practice, but also finding, really great, healthy ways to relax and unwind at the end of a day with your family and friends. But there have been some, studies and benefits that show the impact and health impact of a glass of red wine that could help.
Okay, next category.
So we can go, I like right outlook is the next category. And I think this one sometimes is one that gets overlooked because we don't necessarily see and think about regularly the value of the right outlook. So there's two principles that fall into this. One of them is purpose. So when we think about purpose, that can equate to your why. I think when we become parents, our purpose completely changes in some cases and shifts. And that's part of how purpose is ever evolving depending on where we're at in our life. But the studies show that if you know the reason why you get out of bed every morning, it could add 7 good years to your life. And so in the original Blue Zones, it's called different things in different places. In Okinawa, it's your Ikigai. In Costa Rica, it's your Plan de Vida. But ultimately, by definition, reason why you get out of bed in the morning. And if you know your why and you're waking up for that why, it's going to add some good years back into the tank. So that's one
Is
I
there like a
especially
common
love.
denominator? Is there like a common denominator of people's why, whether it's their family or whether it's their spirituality, or was there anything like that, or did it just kind of run the gamut across? A lot of times our why in Western culture is our is our career. I would imagine that probably in Blue Zones it's not.
You're absolutely right, Christina. And what I'll say to that is, in the original Blue Zones, there's no such thing as retirement because people are living on and with purpose throughout their whole entire life. Whereas in kind of more Western civilization, we get into a job, we get into a career, and it may or may not actually align with our gifts and our values and our skills, but we gotta put food on the table and we're working towards that retirement. And there's also studies that show the two most dangerous years of a person's life are the year that they're born for infant mortality rates and the year that they retire, because
Oh
Wow.
we've
gosh.
been so programmed to work to reach that point. But if we've lost our why and lost our way getting to that point because we've only focused on that career,
Mm.
it can be
Mm.
incredibly detrimental to our health.
That's crazy. Growing up, I would hear, someone's retired, and it's almost like withering after that. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, because I just think people get bored, but there's more opportunities, I feel like, for retirees now. Lots of groups, volunteering, part-time work, or even full-time work.
What I would imagine too, most of their life, their purpose has been work, right? And then when their purpose is no longer work, their identity, they don't have an identity anymore. So that's kind of where the
Yeah.
withering. So like, retiring and going to play golf, or whatever, and that's not sustainable. That's fun for a little while, but then what is your why, your ikigai, as they would say? And where was that one?
Japan,
Yeah,
Japan.
Japan.
Okinawa.
Okinawa.
When you're in your working years, you can't wait to stop working. You're just looking
Mhm.
forward to that time. And I think that when you get to that, what you see is it's a sudden like, yeah, amazing. And then there's just this quietness. It's a bit like the holidays. It's like you're building up for Christmas, or even before Christmas, you've got like your Halloween and you've got your Thanksgiving and you've got Christmas, and then it's New Year, and then it's like, boom, crickets, tumbleweed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
But this kind of other way of living in the Blue Zones, they like have it figured out, and that like they are living their purpose throughout their lives. It's not like I just work and now I have to find my purpose when I'm 65 years old or whatever the case is. They've been living their purpose.
Yeah.
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 And it's never
Yeah.
too early to start uncovering purpose. And even as we think about that as parents, there are things that I even just probe or ask my kids, like what makes you happy? And that can lead to their sense of exploring purpose at a very young age. Or like, what do you want to learn today when you go to school? And that's where some of those nuggets of like really getting to have your kids think about like what their skills are and what their gifts are and what's most important to them. mean, you can start having those conversations very, very young, and that will then transpire into the rest of their lives on making sure they don't lose sight of that, regardless of what life throws at them and what obstacles they have to overcome, and challenges that, if it's right service to others, and as a family you get out and volunteer, or you're able to get, if it's animals or children or whatever it is, like arts and crafts, music, there's so many things that, again, purpose is a big topic, but to break it down simply for younger audiences, to just talk like, what made you laugh today? What made you happy today? What do you want to learn today? To have those moments with your kids. We learned so much from them too, that those are some of my most favorite conversations. And oftentimes I get it in the car ride home from school.
Or just before bed when they're like, you lie down with them.
When they don't want to go to bed, now all of a sudden they want to be chatty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard it said no one is more passionate about hydration than a toddler at bedtime. Oh, I need water. I gotta have my water. I need more water.
I have to tell you.
I drank it all.
have to tell you about my
Mom.
day.
Oh.
Every detail.
It's so true. It's so true. Okay, so what else is in this category? We've got purpose.
And the other one is downshifting. So by definition, this is relaxation, rejuvenation, de-stressing. I think another one that American civilization does not traditionally encourage, because of all of what we just talked about, of the drive, the accomplishments, trying to achieve the next thing, that sometimes, and I think especially in careers and professions in service to others, we often put ourselves last. And that is not a great thing for our own longevity and vitality for the future. So this is one, again, I bet if we went around this group and we said, what do you do to relax and de-stress? My guess is each one of you might say something a little bit different, but I'm just getting to know all of you. So maybe not. Maybe not.
Let's find out now, Sarah. That's a good question. Let's find out what do you all do to de-stress, to downshift, to relax?
I usually go to bed.
Same.
Sleep is huge. Taking a nap or going to bed. Those are huge.
I will say, actually, for me, a big thing for my mental sake is structure. As a freelance person, I have to bake in, so I know I'm going to the gym in the morning or whatever. But I love cars. I love to go for a drive, and communicating that with your partner, so it doesn't seem like you're trying to get out of dad duty or mom duty or whatever, but like, I'm actually trying to be the best person I can be so I can be the best father. And I think there's so much to be said about modeling. Sarah, you touched on this as well. Like, even if you don't get full buy-in from your kids on this, because maybe you've got kids who are 2 or 3, and it's like, we already had an episode where we talked about picky eaters. It's like, there's going to be things you can't just go full bore on. But as an adult, you can latch onto a few of these things and model those. And that's, I mean, every parent knows what you do is more important than what you say, because you see your kids do it. You're like, no cussing. And then your teacher, your kid's teacher sends home a note, Bobby was dropping some F-bombs. And you're like, did he learn language? Oh, whoops, that's on me, And that's truly not something that's happened here. But that type of thing is very common. So I think what you're talking about is so helpful. And this isn't for parents to feel overwhelmed. We have too much going on already. This is more so just like, what sticks out to you? What kind of do you latch onto? What's an easy thing? Maybe it's the blue zone parking. Maybe it's the 80-20. Maybe it's, trying to hide black beans in your kids' brownies, whatever. I think those are all just like trying to find, kind of what works for your family. So anyway, that was like a long answer to the simple question, but yeah.
To piggyback off of what you said, though, what I love so much about this Blue Zones idea, is a lot of time we're fed these things that, we have to get X amount of protein in our diets, and then we have to add all of this, extra, supplements, and then we have to be at the gym 2 hours a day, and then you have to go to therapy, and you have to, all of these things that as a person, as a mom, I don't have time. And then for a lot of people, we just don't have the resources, right? I would love to go and unwind at the spa and take a me day. Wouldn't that be nice? That's just not realistic, right? But that's not what people are in these blue zones. They're just living life very simply. And if we could just kind of adapt a few of these into our daily lives, that might make a huge difference without not a lot of that. It's more of alignment and intentionality as opposed to like investment of money and time and all of
Yeah,
these things that
yeah,
we're kind of
that's
told that
good.
we have to in order to get there, to be healthy.
So what do you do to downshift, Christina? You're avoiding the question.
Oh, I also, like Bradley, go to bed. I get into bed. I have really found that hot yoga really helps me center and ground. And so this morning, I knew that I was going to have a busy day today. And so I got up at 5 o'clock before mom duty kicks off. I went to bed early. But before I, have to make breakfast and get the day started, I got up and did a hot yoga class at 5 o'clock. It was a sacrifice to get up an hour and a half earlier than I wanted to, but it just made a huge difference. So for me, that's kind of what it is.
Donna?
I like to meditate. Meditation is my medication.
Oh,
Yep.
that's good. That's good.
I meditate pretty much, it's every day, not pretty much, it is every day. I
Wow.
started in like 2011 and I was on and off, back and forth. And now this is a non-negotiable for me, for my mental state, for just feeling grounded. Even Dermot, my husband, will know. He's like, have you meditated today? As if I'm like, as the day goes on, I start getting a bit
Oh,
more
totally.
anxiety starts kicking
Yeah.
in and I'm kind of like getting frantic and I might get a bit snappy. And he's like, you done your meditation
Oh yeah, Kirsten will be
today?" And I'm
like, "Do you need to go
"No, I need
for a
to do
run?
it."
You need to get outside for a little bit?" I'm like, "I do. Yes, thank you, partner."
We all have dials. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that Dermot has kind of ignored. He's like, I know what your dials are. You need to be warm. You need to be fed. You need to exercise and you need to meditate.
Those are probably all blue zones.
They do sound very blue.
Yes.
What about you, Sarah? What do you do to relax?
So, this is an area that I would say I'm not strongest in when it comes to downshifting. And so work in progress, I call myself that, but one of the things I've been really intentional about lately, and even since getting involved with Blue Zones, is just daily gratitudes and practicing those daily gratitudes. So that I start my day with that, just like just thank yous, for all the things. And I often throughout the day share those gratitudes in big and small ways. And so that for me has been a wonderful way of downshifting, to take the time to share gratitude, not only for my own life, but for the others in my life that who have brought a lot to me and for me as well. So that's one of the
So
ones that I
good.
can be very consistent on.
Beautiful.
And it's simple. And even if it's, again, the first thing I think when I wake up laying in bed, I take an extra 5 seconds for 5 thank yous, and then I get going. And that just sets the day up for the right trajectory of it's going to be another great day today. And I'm so grateful for all the things that I'm fortunate to have in my life.
I love that. And as Christina said, much like all the other things we've mentioned, but particularly just being like having gratitude and showing feeling gratitude, feeling grateful for what you already have that's in your life, even if you don't have all the things you want or desire, it doesn't cost a thing, does it?
Yes.
It doesn't cost a thing.
Exactly.
It's a freebie. It's a freebie.
Yeah.
And we like free things around here.
Exactly. We all do. Who doesn't like free stuff?
So we've done the 4 categories. Remind us one more time.
So we've done the 3. We've done 3 out of the 4. So we've done move naturally. Yep.
Move naturally.
We've done eat wisely. And then we've also done the right outlook. So the final category is connection. And there's 3.
Big.
Huge. Again, sometimes that we don't think about how valuable it is. And so the 3 that sit in connection are putting your loved ones first, having a positive pack, and having a sense of belonging. And these will, I think, resonate for families and parents across anywhere in the world. And even to that point, when we talk about career first, that means we're not putting our loved ones first. And that I'm sure we all do, right? And everybody says it goes by so fast, right? make sure you like soak it all in. And it's like,
Yeah.
how do I soak it all in when I got to do all the things?
We gotta pay the
But
bills and we got yeah, all the things.
so I would say have probably sacrificed some things in putting family first, but now that's been a big shift of nope, non-negotiable. These are things that, even my team knows. I have a very I'm going to call it wonky work day because it's a somewhat traditional work environment, but knowing that taking my kids to school, picking my kids up from school, and then I'm logging back on, after that happens. But those are two kind of spaces I like to hold and they're on my calendar publicly for my team to see. They know not to schedule something, but before and after, those are times absolutely where we can plug in time. Sometimes we got to make it work and I got to phone a friend, AKA my husband, to say, hey, can you pick up the kids from school today? I've got a meeting or whatever the case may be. But those are two moments in my day daily that I did not practice regularly previously and now really try to hold that space of time because some of the best conversations happen in that 7 minutes.
Sarah, do you find that we take connection for granted? I mean, clearly not in the blue zones. I mean, the fact that connection is right up there with like your diet and your movement and your exercise, that it's just as important for longevity. Do you think that we take that for granted?
1000%, yes. Because what we see is a growing number of social isolation and loneliness across all age groups. Our children, us, as we're so busy, we don't even have time to make time for our friends and getting together with our social circles that maybe we spent a lot of time with 10, 15, 20 years ago. And then our aging population, as well as getting more and more isolated and lonely. Previous Surgeon General, isolation and loneliness is an epidemic and it kills, and it's just as bad as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
So it is huge. I certainly don't think COVID did us any favors
Yeah.
because it caused us to stay in isolation for safety and health precaution, but that it enabled us to stay isolated and lonely because it became the norm and the convenience of life that we don't realize how important the human connection component is, that we've gotten quote unquote comfortable in being by ourselves, that we don't realize humans are meant to be social creatures, right? And so the
Yeah.
fact that we've made everything modern day, we don't even have to leave our couch to get anything and everything comes straight to us. So we don't even
Right.
have to interact with humans
The
anymore. So
convenience has become a detriment.
yes, absolutely. So yes.
It's interesting because I'm looking at some stats here. Looking at creating our own village, our community, and it's very important. Which is a reason why we're what you're doing in Scottsdale with the initiative, the Blue Zones project, and then what we're doing when we're building this podcast, The Village Thrives. It's about connection, both both the same thing, and we're just getting out there and putting the word out. So I think there's I'm seeing some things here that say like 42% of parents say they lack a village compared to, that's like nowadays, compared to only 23% felt that way in the 1980s. So that's gone up 20%. Strong social ties, as you said, Sarah, can add 7 to 15 years of life expectancy. This is strong social ties. If we're missing out on these, this is a detriment to our well-being. Children with strong community connections have lower stress, higher resilience, and better long-term mental health. And that was from the American Sociological Association in 2021. So, there's research out there. Blue zones have already established that, and they're putting the word out there. And so just having conversations like this is big and it's great. And we're trying to, connect with as many people as possible, and having a podcast to do it is helpful, or a platform in any way, any capacity. We'll get into this in a little bit, Sarah, but some of the things that Sarah's been doing here, and I've actually had the pleasure of joining Sarah on a few of the projects, but just being out and about connecting with people is everything. And as we know, being parents, particularly the first year or two of a baby's life, it can feel very isolating and very, very lonely. And I always thought it was because when I had Easton, he was only 2 weeks old, and I moved to another state. And then when he was 5, I moved to another state again. And so I've bounced around, and I know what that feeling is like to have such strong need and desire to want to connect with other people. But I realize that some people find that difficult. It's not easy for everybody to socialize, whether it's because of their schedule and work, or because they just don't, they're just more of an introvert and they find it hard to make new friends as an adult, or to connect with people. They might feel awkward. So how do we connect with people in real life, not just online, when you just have a tendency to be more of an introvert? Have you got any tips to make friends? What would you suggest?
Well, unfortunately, because of the work that we're doing with Blue Zones Project Scottsdale, it does create those environments and safe places for people to kind of know what they're going to get when they show up, even if they're going outside their comfort zone. And this is where positive pack comes into play, or right tribe of, right, when you surround yourself with people that are in this same mindset, and you may not agree on everything, and that's totally okay, and some might be extroverted and some might be introverted, but when you're coming together around common purpose and outlook on life, that's where the deeper, richer, meaningful connection now completely outweighs those other encounters that feel just surface, and that's what people need, especially in busy life. And to carve out space to do that is already challenging and difficult, but making sure that space is carved for the right people, because the last thing you want to do is go into a group setting where everybody's just complaining about everything in life and
Mm.
how difficult and challenging it is, and then all that does is like, oh, that's doom and gloom. And that's even right when we get into and onto social media channels, whether it's children or adults or whomever, we can often get pulled into those rabbit holes as well. That it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to check myself, because I don't want to go down that path, and I don't want to go into those unfavorable, negative thoughts, when I can be surrounding myself in a positive space. Which I think is so wonderful about what you're doing here with the Village Thrives, is it shows that, us as parents, we're not alone, even though sometimes it feels like the loneliest place on earth, and we're living in Mars because we're not doing anything right. But the reality is everybody's experiencing it in different ways, and creating this network of support to just showcase that is very, very powerful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you have, is that the second thing in the category of
Yes. So
uh
Connection.
the
okay.
connection piece, and the last one is belonging. And so that it just goes right into, it originally derived in the original Blue Zones around being part of a faith-based community, attending services regularly. It didn't necessarily matter the denomination, but those individuals who were going to services and having a sense of community and belonging around faith showed to live better, longer lives. But I think that transpires and translate directly into having a sense of belonging in your community. So it's not just, being part of a group or joining a group, but really feeling like you belong and you're heard and you have a voice at that table. And you have value in whatever that group is. And that's where it there's a lot of groups out there, right? So sometimes that can be overwhelming in itself, but maybe it's just something that is important to you, whether that's knitting or crochet or gardening or, walking or pickleball, whatever it is that you like to do. And there's so many groups, again, so many groups out there. So you could probably just do a Google search of seeing what's in your community that's available to go and join one of those groups. But that's just one common interest that then most likely you'll find those individuals that have additional common interests that you may want to spend time with outside of that group, and build a richer, more meaningful connection, and then sense of place and pride in where you live and where you want to raise your family and grow your presence in your community.
It just seems to me when you think, like, I'm just trying to imagine putting myself, my 2 feet into a blue zone area, and it just seems like we've strayed so far from really the basic way, the very simple way that we were all kind of created to be, and we've just so moved away from that, right? I think of like intentionally finding a group where these people are just in group, they're in community without any sort of, trying to be intentional. They're just moving, not because they have to get their steps in, but because it's just, and it just
Mm.
sounds like such a beautiful, peaceful place way to live, which is probably why they're living so much longer than we are.
Well, do you think that also, certain areas that we live in big, large cities, all three of us, or have lived in big, large cities, and
Mhm.
it's very transient. You get people from all over the world. It's very cosmopolitan. And so you're not necessarily, maybe other parts of the country, there are people who have, you know, obviously grown up and live in that same spot. But maybe they didn't move away from where they grew up.
Yeah, hometown folks.
Exactly. And they've got their
Mhm.
village, right?
Their family, their
Sarah, their
extended
family have grown
family.
up with them. So I feel like that maybe, if you have that experience, it's slightly different to people who have moved away from home and traveled to different areas and are built, finding their network of people, finding their tribe, their village. That is slightly different. But Sarah, tell us a little bit, because I love this. I love that they do this. And I don't know if they still do this, but tell us about Moais in Japan.
Yeah, this perfect segue into Blue Zone's project and how this concept and inspiration can happen in communities across the country, and that's where I think the power sits in. But yes, to Donna's question around Moais really, again, we'll make another Okinawa reference, but at a young age, five small little boys or five small little girls are put together as kind of a friends circle, if you will, and they stay together for the rest of their lives. So maybe a little bit of a forced friendship, but what evolves is almost a built-in caregiver. So regardless of what their family dynamic looks like and what kind of support system they have in their own lives, now this group of five little girls grow up together, and 90 years later, if someone doesn't open their blinds or doesn't come to tea or doesn't come and join the group that day, there's four other little old ladies that are going and checking in on them to say what's going on. And so that's an important piece of the work that we do with Blue Zones projects is we create these moais aligned with any one of those Power Nine principles, whether that's a walking group or whether that's um, a potluck or purpose moai. There's a lot of different ways to incorporate those Power Nine principles into sort of these small subsets of groups that the intention is, yes, we might run a program for 10 weeks where you meet once a week, but it's sustainable because these people now have found their positive pack and they're going to continue to get together and walk in perpetuity, that once a week, every day that they're going to meet up and go and connect. And so the concept of Moai is, it's beautiful. It's a wonderful story to tell, because it does feel like sometimes, I know I'm guilty of, hey, can we get together for a drink in like 3 months? And we're like, scheduling out time so far out. Whereas when we can consistently and regularly create that space, but then each and every time we meet, we walk away with such great benefit of fulfillment and happiness that it's so worth it. And we can always walk away being like, I'm so glad I did that today. I'm so glad I met with that group. Christina, you said, I'm so glad I did that hot yoga today because I'm reaping the benefits of it. And having people to do those things with it priceless.
And that's it. Well, I think we're having to build our little micro villages, and whether that's through Moais. I didn't even know what a Moai was before I met Sarah. I had to Google. I'm like, what's a Moai? And the first thing that came up was Easter Island. The statues in Easter Island are also called
How did you
Moais.
spell it when you put it into Google?
Yeah, good question.
Moai, because I had a sheet of paper that said it.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know.
It was written down on something.
Okay.
Moai, yeah. And then Sarah explained what, as she just explained to everyone here, what it means from Okinawa.
Yeah, such a beautiful, beautiful way of living in community. But Sarah, since you've been a part of this project, because you were with Visit Scottsdale, I think before, how has your life changed? How has your perspective on life changed since being a part of this project?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's, I would say, exponentially changed for the better on the inside, because I think I've always cared about all of these things, but I don't think I was practicing many of them in my own life. And so, um, again, back to, modeling behavior of, well, if I'm saying all these things work great, then I probably need to be doing them to ensure that I can validate that and affirm that yes, this stuff really does work, right? It's not just in theory. It's all evidence-based, science-based, research-based, to show the impact that it and the outcomes that it really does have. So I would say that in accepting this position, I read the book. Well, first of all, right? That's step one. I'm like, okay, let me read the book. And then I'm like, okay, how can I implement this
What's the
into my
book?
life? So Blue Zones. So there's several books, but Blue Zones is the original. There's several cookbooks and other books, but I read the original Blue Zones book, which outlined all the things that we talked about, and I really tried to lean into making some changes in my own life and my own habits and my own practice every day. And most people would say, "Well, Sarah, you were already high energy and happy and optimistic and fit and I'm like, maybe that's what I look like from the outside, that I had it all together. But I think when I self-reflected on the inside, I'm like, oh, I've got some work. I've got some work to do for myself. So,
Mm.
interestingly enough, I would say about a year in, even stepping on the scale, the numbers were more favorable. And my mother-in-law said, "Oh my God," I hadn't seen her in a while, and she's like, What are you doing? You look so great." And I said, "I don't think I'm doing anything." So I wasn't.
I'm parking
Yes,
farther away.
exactly.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah,
And I'm only eating till I'm 80% full.
exactly, and I have a really big appetite. So these are all things that I I have seen in my own personal self-reflection. Again, even somebody outside looking in probably wouldn't notice. And even, for my team, right, they see me on the go day in and day out in community. They don't see the time that I go to bed real early. And that is also something. Sleep is a non-negotiable for me too, so that I can make sure I replenish and refuel to get going and be my best self for the next day. So I'm not one that stays up very late to get all the things done that were piling up throughout the day. So if anything, I'm like, wow, I'm more energetic and more optimistic and even happier than I was before. And I was all of those things prior to coming on board with Blue Zone. So I started practicing what I preached and actually saw the impact and effect pretty clearly without really feeling like I had to do a lot to see that
Mm.
change and evolution. And that's what Blue Zones is. It's intended to be simple. It's intended to be digestible so that people can take away and start wherever they're starting at to incorporate things meant to be just woven into your daily life, not an I can't take on something else. I'm already at max capacity. And that's what I love
Mhm.
most about it. So both personally and professionally, it kind of encompasses everything I could possibly care about in life as a wife and
Your
a mom and
purpose.
someone working.
Your
It's all the
ikigai.
things. It is. So I had no idea that I wasn't going to be in tourism for the duration of my professional career. So this work called me. I wasn't looking for it. And so I feel, again, this is where gratitude comes into play. Pretty grateful every day that I get to sit in the seat that I sit in. So
I have a question, Sarah. Have there
yeah.
been updates to the blue zones? Like, are the blue zones becoming less blue, more blue? Have we added new blue zones? Like, how does that working?
Yeah. Oh, good
Mm.
question. So yes, Dan continues to do research. He has identified a sixth blue zone. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I feel like it's going to be a spoiler if you haven't watched the Netflix docuseries, because you have to watch all 4 parts to
Is
find
it
the
Scottsdale, Arizona,
Oh.
Sarah? Are you revolutionizing one city at a time?
I know. So as much as I'd like to say yes to that question, and this is an important differentiator too, is that the blue zones, original blue zones, really didn't have to do so much work to be identified as such. It was their natural environments that really helped shape them to be original blue zones. But what Scottsdale is working towards, and a numerous number of communities across the country are working towards, are becoming blue zone certified communities, which means we're not changing the landscape of where we live, because we wouldn't live here if
It's the
that's
desert.
what we were
There's
doing.
not a whole lot
Yes.
else you can do. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but what we can do is we can amplify and elevate all those natural assets that we do have. So, whether that is people choose to walk or ride their bikes or drive their cars, that we can all coexist and do that safely together to encourage a lot of these wonderful best practices for healthy long living. So it's happening across the country. The other, and Dan, again, there's some more new research coming out with more blue zones. And unfortunately, to your point, there are some of those originals that are sort of fading away. And I hate to blame it on us, but Western civilization has a lot to do with that.
You bring in a
Boy.
KFC and
Yeah.
you'll just KFC everything change. I know it firsthand. The buckets and biscuits, baby. It's
Ooh,
tough. It's hard to
I
say
tell
no.
you what, we haven't even got to the dad joke section yet, but we're going to get there.
Come on.
Just
Always ready.
Bring it on. Bring it on. Thank you, Sarah, so much. Just where would we find Blue Zone's resources?
Yeah. So, for if people are local to Arizona and Scottsdale, Blue Zones Project Scottsdale has its own page. So that is bluezonesprojectscottsdale.com. And we're on most social media channels at BZP Scottsdale. But bluezones.com is a wealth of resources. There's great recipes, great articles, great tips, research, and other just wonderful resources that anybody across the country and world, quite frankly, can access to, again, start to incorporate one thing at a time to see, how do I feel today, and did it make a difference in my life? And I think what most will uncover is that it genuinely does.
And as you also added, there are books available and the
Yes.
Netflix documentary,
Yes.
4-part series. Okay, thank you so much. To wrap things up, I have a few questions that we ask all of our guests. 1, what is the one piece of advice you'd give to new parents?
Perfection is not possible.
Great.
That's good.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good.
What do you know now that you didn't know before becoming a parent?
Perfection is not possible.
I'd like to plead the fifth. I'd like to plead the fifth.
And finally, who is in your village? You can give them a shout out. Who are you
Gosh,
grateful for?
I am fortunate to have a lot of individuals in my village, but first and foremost, absolutely is my family, and we are certainly family first, and they are much of my purpose day in and day out. So Ian, Jake, and Charlie, they get the shout out for my most important village. But yeah, wonderful support from my husband Ian, and then my son Jake plays hockey, and so he's created a little village of hockey parents, which is a whole nother breed of people, which I absolutely love. And then Charlie has provided me a dance mom village, which also is a whole nother breed of people. But I love every single one of them. My service in the community has also provided me a lot of great, strong, positive packs of people that I just admire. When I look at the legacies that they've left behind for this community, it's exactly what I want to look back 25 years from now and think I had an impact where I live and work and play too.
That's purpose. That's very
There we
cool.
go,
It
yeah.
is.
So, of course, we cannot end the show without a good laugh.
On to my purpose. Let's go.
Bradley's
Getting
getting ready to
stretched out.
Stretch out, Bradley.
Getting
I'm
ready
going to
for
get
this
ready
one.
to laugh. I'm getting ready to
All right.
laugh.
This actually goes along with our Blue Zones conversation, so I'm excited it's
does it?
thematically approved. Yes, it does. Yeah.
So now it's time for Bradley and his dad joke.
I seem to only get sick during the weekdays. I guess I have a weekend immune system. Come on.
Oh boy.
Come on.
You were so excited about that one,
Sarah,
Bradley
you
was
can
like,
use
yeah.
that one. We're not even going to charge you.
Yeah,
You
well
can
done.
use that one royalty free in your next
Yep.
presentation about Blue Zones.
Download it.
Well played.
Oh my
Noted.
gosh.
Write that one down.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for being with us today here on The Village
Yeah.
Thrives. We really covered quite a lot in this one episode, and we'd love to have you back another time because I just feel like there's still so much more to kind of dig into. But one thing that ties this all together is connection. And I think when people connect, the village thrives.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us at The Village Thrives. And remember, parenting isn't meant to be done alone. When the village comes together and supports one another, we thrive. We'll see you next time.
The way you taught me how to love me when I didn't love myself. Way you grant my every wish like a well. The way you took the heat in Texas and cooked it into breakfast, paving the way for me to excel. And there you are back in the kitchen, making my favorites. Doesn't get better than this. Oh, everything is precious when I'm in your presence. You make my world go round and round. Oh, every single second with you's another present. You lift me up when I'm feeling down. Life is so precious when you're around. Everything's precious when you're